Oh, hey, didn't see you there. You want to talk about the Colorado Trail? Hi, I'm Katie, aka Double Dip, and the Colorado Trail was my first ever thru hike. If you know me, you know that I'm very type A, anxious, over-planner, so I spent the weeks and months leading up to the start of this trail absolutely scouring the internet for the perfect how-to guide on how to have the perfect CT experience. Unfortunately, here's the reality of the Rocky Mountains. Things are unpredictable. People are going to tell you to stay hydrated and don't get hit by lightning, but it's really hard to actually tell someone how to do that. Here are 11 lessons that I've learned the hard way that hopefully will help you have the most magical Colorado Trail experience you possibly can, because honestly, in my opinion, the Colorado Trail is the best thru hike out there. This first tip has gotten me yelled at by strangers across the internet for years, and that is to just manage your blisters. It's not that controversial of a take, but I'm going to tell you how I do it. Am I a medical professional? No. Is this probably the best, safest way to manage blisters? No, but I'm just letting you know what's worked for me. On the Colorado Trail, the real issue is all of the dust that gets into your socks and creates the friction that causes these blisters. I'm sure you've heard many people tell you that as soon as you feel a hot spot, stop and address the blister, which is true, but sometimes that's just not realistic. Sometimes you roll up to camp and you realize, oh my God, I've got a massive blister right on my heel. I don't know how to take care of it, and it's really painful with every step. What should you do? You should leave it be. As soon as you break the surface of the skin, you're introducing more risk for bacteria to enter, so you absolutely should not pop a blister, and that is the official stance of the trek. What do? I sterilize a needle as best I can with a lighter and make small pinpricks around the outside of the blister. This helps keep that roof intact over the top of it while still letting me drain as much of the liquid inside out as I can. Then I cover it with an antibiotic lotion and then put some sort of tape on top, whether that be Luca tape or KT tape, before finally sliding my foot back into the sock. Another thing I found that helps sometimes is leaving that blister uncovered overnight. It helps dry things out and makes things a little bit easier to deal with. If you, like me, are a member of the Very Sweaty Feet Club, blisters are probably an unfortunate reality of your thru hiking experience. Sometimes it's just not realistic to leave them alone, especially when you get those double-decker blisters where you get the blister on top of an already formed blister. Trust me, I've been there, not fun. Take care of your feet as much as you can. Soak them in rivers at every possibility to try to get all the dust off of your feet, but sometimes you're just gonna have to pop a blister, and that's okay. The second tip is that altitude is not something you can tough out. I've seen some of the strongest hikers I've ever met really struggle with the elevation of the Colorado Trail, which averages around 12 to 13,000 feet. You're really high up for the majority of your hike, and that does take a pretty large toll on your body. Your body cannot use oxygen as efficiently as it can at sea level, and you're going to feel those repercussions when you're up on the Colorado Trail. Even if you don't feel hungry and thirsty, it's still really important to remember that you're exerting a huge load on your body. You need to still be eating, and you honestly probably need to be doubling your daily water intake. You're exhaling about 50% more moisture with every breath you're taking at altitude, so it's incredibly important that you are receiving that water intake even if your body's telling you it doesn't need it. The two best tips I have are this. Number one, acclimate before you go. If you can, come to Denver in advance and spend a couple of weeks or even just a couple of days at 5,000 feet before tackling the trail. If you're heading WeBo, which is what I call westbound on the Colorado Trail, you're going to have a couple of days of lower altitude before you really shoot up high and stay there for the rest of the trail. Take advantage of that and go slowly on those few days to give your body time to adjust. If you're heading EBO or eastbound, it is much more important that you acclimate prior to starting the trail, as you're really going to start the trail at around 10 to 12,000 feet, and it's going to be several weeks before you end up dropping down. The second tip is to climb high, sleep low. There will be moments every day where the trail has a few dips in elevation, and try to plan your campsites to sleep in those lower elevation spots. Your body's going to recover faster, you're going to be breathing easier throughout the night, and your body will probably thank you for it the following morning. My third tip is to bring some sort of water flavoring for the cow water that you're probably going to be drinking around segments 16 to 18. In those sections, you're going to have a lot fewer water sources to choose from at all, and unfortunately the water sources you can choose from, you're probably sharing with livestock. That does leave a certain cow flavoring in a lot of the water that you'll be drinking. I have filled up downstream from things I'd rather not describe, but I will. It was a dead, rotting cow in a creek. A good water filter will handle all of the dangerous bacteria as long as you're using it correctly, but it won't do much to mask that cow taste. Personally, I like those little Skittle packets of powder. What is it? I don't know, couldn't begin to guess, but it's just very brightly colored powder that you put it in a water bottle and then it tastes like a liquid Skittle. Is that necessarily tasty? No, but I would prefer that over the taste of actual literal cow. I know every state and every city loves to say that you can experience all 4 seasons in a day, and if you don't like the weather, just wait an hour, but on the Colorado Trail, it's actually true. You can experience a heat wave, a hailstorm, and a freeze all within the same 6-hour period. What does this mean? Don't skip on your layering. I recommend bringing some really good rain gear, rain jacket, rain pants, whatever floats your boat, as well as some designated camp-only clothes that stay dry. Personally, I carried a sweatshirt and sweatpants the entire trail, and that definitely made my evenings very cozy. And I brought 2 extra pairs of socks because your feet do get wet pretty often. No matter how miserable the day got, being able to crawl into my tent and change into a dry pair of sweatpants and a sweatshirt was such a mental reset and something that I really needed a lot of days. If you're planning a Colorado Trail hike and you're nervous enough to be watching this video, this tip is probably why you're here, and it's about lightning safety. If you're hiking the Colorado Trail or any really high alpine trail during monsoon season, you probably will be caught above treeline at least once during a lightning storm. The Colorado Trail specifically has so many long stretches of trail above treeline that it just kind of feels like an unavoidable reality. The first thing you need to do is be able to identify what is a thunderstorm and what does it look like as it's building. It's important to know that when the clouds start building up, that's when you might need to start looking out for some risk of lightning developing. If that happens, the general rule of thumb is to either get to a low point or get off of a ridge. The best place to be, obviously other than indoors, is in a forest where there are plenty of trees a lot taller than you and you are not standing near a tree that is significantly taller than everything around. A couple of quick myths to bust. First, lightning pose is becoming outdated. There's not really a way you can stand or a way you can sit that will mitigate the effects of being struck by lightning. Just continue running down off of a ridge or towards tree cover. Secondly, it's okay to have your trekking poles. It's okay to have your umbrella. It's not attracting the lightning. The extra 2 feet of an umbrella above your head or carrying trekking poles down by your waist does not make you a more attractive target to actually get struck by lightning. It just is probably a little bit conductive. And finally, if you're in a group, try to spread out to mitigate the risk of a ground strike affecting multiple people at once. I'm not going to be able to sit here and talk you out of being afraid of lightning, especially because I myself am still very afraid of lightning, but sometimes being prepared for the worst case scenario can make those moments a little bit less anxiety inducing. This won't actually make you any safer, but something that helps me with my anxiety when I'm hiking in an area with a lot of lightning is to just hike with another person. Sometimes it's nice to have that sanity check to bounce ideas off of them. Oh, should we get down off the ridge now? Is it safe to keep going? And honestly, it just makes me feel a little bit less alone out there. Okay, that's enough about lightning. Shake off the jitters. I promise it's okay. Let's get to the next tip, which is about sun protection. The UV index at 12,000 feet is just something else. I promise you've never seen anything like it if you're coming from sea level. At the end of the day, sunscreen might not cut it. You might have to look towards more mechanical physical barriers such as a wide-brimmed hat or a long-sleeve lightweight sun hoodie or a sun umbrella. Even if you do all of that plus sunscreen, there's probably a few areas that could get sunburned that you're not thinking about, especially if there's snow on the ground that's reflecting all the UV back up onto your body. I speak from experience when I say that it is actually incredibly easy to get a sunburn on the inside of your nose. The places I struggle with are the tops of my knees, the knuckles on my hands, and again, the inside of my nostrils. What's helped me is constant reapplication of sunscreen, sticking sunscreen up my nose, and wearing little sun gloves that cover my knuckles. And if you're sweating out there or you're taking dips in these beautiful alpine lakes, which you definitely should, you're going to have to reapply sunscreen a little bit more than you might think. Save yourself the pain and just start early with sun protection. Tip number 7 is my personal opinion, and if it doesn't apply to you, that's fine. However, I am correct and you probably should do this. When you get to the decision point between resupplying in Creede or Lake City, there is only one correct answer, and that is go to Creede. Why do I say this? One reason only. Creede has a restaurant that is an olive oil balsamic vinegar bread shop, and they give you unlimited free samples. Unlimited free samples. They don't stop you, and I speak from personal experience. You can walk around that store for 2 hours trying all the balsamic vinegars you want on all the bread you want. It's incredible. And because Lake City seems to be the default, Creede is often less crowded, less of a hassle, and in my opinion has a better grocery store. Finally, because of its location on the trail, it actually sets you up for more success with San Luis, if that 14er is a side trail that you are interested in doing during your Colorado Trail experience. You are much closer to the base of San Luis, so you can time that weather window a little bit better if making it to the summit is really important to you. But blah blah blah, tons of reasons to go to Creed. Honestly, it all boils down to that one balsamic vinegar, olive oil bread shop. And yes, they do ship if you end up wanting to buy something and mail it home as a little souvenir. That is what I did. Tip number 8 kind of touches on this as well, and that's honestly, don't mail any resupply boxes. I get the temptation. Start of the hike, you're trying to plan a lot. You know for a fact the food you're gonna wanna eat, so you put your boxes together. You know for a fact which towns you're gonna wanna go to when you mail them off. Congratulations, you are now locked into that and you have no wiggle room. I knew for a fact on day 1 of the Colorado Trail that I was going to want to be eating energy stroopwafels and goos and protein bars for the entirety of my hike, and that I was gonna wanna go to Lake City and I was gonna wanna go on this day. And guess what? I did not want to do any of that. Things change on trail, plans change, you meet new people who want to do different things, and you want to be able to stay flexible. My tramley ended up splitting apart at the Creed Lake City junction because some people mailed boxes to Creed and some people mailed boxes to Lake City, and you can't really compromise on that. You spend too much money, you have to go into the town to go pick it up. I don't have many regrets from my Colorado Trail through hike. Honestly, it went really well and I loved the experience, but if I could do it again, I wouldn't send any boxes. All of the towns along the way have a major enough grocery store that unless you have very severe dietary restrictions, you're going to be able to find plenty of what you need for a reasonable price. Tip number 9 focuses still on the towns because I do think the town culture and the town experience is a very underrated part of a Colorado Trail through hike. When I think about my favorite parts of the Colorado Trail, obviously yes, I think about the grand views in the San Juans. I think about cowboy camping under the stars and laughing with friends. But also, I think about the wonderful experiences I had in Silverton and Salida. Go into town, eat real food, talk to the people who live there. Everyone is incredibly friendly, the culture is very unique, and it's such a wonderful experience to add to your Colorado Trail through hike. Obviously, the mental benefit of a hot shower after a few hard days on trail cannot be overstated, but let's also talk about dipping in the Arkansas River in Salida. You can rent inner tubes for like $5. Why not do that? Breckenridge has some really wonderful breweries if you're willing to spend $20 for a glass of beer. But honestly, if you're not spending any money on trail, yeah, go spend that $20. It's worth it. My personal challenge was to have a chai latte in every town along the trail so I could look back and rank everyone based on their chai latte experience. For the record, Coffee Bear in Silverton took number 1 and Zero Day Coffee in Leadville took a very close number 2. For tip number 10, we have to go to the collegiates, where you'll be faced with a choice. Do you go east along the original Colorado Trail path, or do you go west along the Continental Divide Trail? This is maybe another personal opinion that if you don't want to, don't listen to me, but then know that you're probably wrong. I would recommend going west. Going west gives you views that are so much better, I can't even begin to quantify it. You're above treeline for much of those 80 miles, and that area is absolutely flush with moose. If you go east, you do get more shade, so if you are deathly afraid of lightning, that could be a good option, but honestly, you're dealing with arguably more elevation gain, harder miles, just for fewer views. Some people in my tramley who went east did say that there were a lot of beavers along the way, which is very fun to watch, but beavers, moose, I know what I would prefer. Finally, tip 11 is hokey, and I'm sorry, but it is also true, and that is to just get out there. The CT was my first through hike. It is so many people's first through hike. It's the through hike that has the highest percentage of solo women through hikers. It's incredibly safe, incredibly social, logistically very easy. At the end of the day, it's a perfect trail. There's no wrong way to explore this trail. If you're nervous or you think that you can't do the full thing as a through hike, that's fine. A lot of the sections are incredibly easily accessible and would make a perfect weekend backpacking trip. People are out there in all different forms. You'll meet day hikers, through hikers, mountain bikers. The only wrong way to experience the Colorado Trail is not getting out there at all. You don't need to overthink the gear. You don't need to overthink the logistics. This really is a trail that you can just start and figure things out along the way as you go. And something about that is really wonderful. Obviously, the CT will challenge you. It'll challenge your patience and your mental fortitude and your leg strength, but it is also the most rewarding hike I've ever done. If you have any questions about specific segments or any tips that you think would be useful to share, please share them down below. I can't wait to see you out there, hopefully without any blisters and with a very warm pair of sweatpants. Happy trails!